Unless you filed an extension, if you didn't do your taxes by Monday, you're officially late.
When most people think about the IRS, you think only about taxes. But as Tulsa's investigative reporter Jana Clark found out, they look into much more than that. It's her Fox 23 investigation.
Mid-April is tax crunch time, and if you aren't paid up, you might be worried about these 3 letters. The IRS. What do you think most people typically think?
So I think most people think of audit and collection, because that's most of their interaction with IRS.
The IRS is out to get me.
Correct.
Special Agent in Charge Christopher Altimus with IRS Criminal Investigations says they catch criminals in other kinds of crime, too. What are some of the things the public doesn't typically think about?
We work all types of different federal crimes.
The #1 crime? Narcotics. What would you say would be your role in fighting drug crimes?
So like most crimes, there's a financial component, right? They're committing these crimes for some money, possibly financial gain, and that's where our expertise comes in, because we are truly the best at tracing proceeds through multiple accounts, identifying assets that may be concealed with those proceeds, and ultimately bringing those individuals to justice with those money laundering charges.
Do you feel like what you do makes a really big difference?
I do. They're in this game to make money, so we can take away those proceeds and those assets. That's going to have the biggest impact in disrupting these organizations.
You hit them where it hurts.
Most definitely. The
IRS also fights human trafficking. How do you combat human trafficking?
For us to identify where that money is going, ultimately, it's not always at the initial site of an organization that's conducting that type of activity. So being able to trace that money back, whether it be domestically, now we're seeing a lot more international organized crime, and to be able to trace that funding to those international sources and being able to, again, shut down the operations at a much more higher level.
Is a very simple way of saying it is you follow the money?
Yes, that's a very simple way of saying it. And they also follow the money when they combat crime #3, investment fraud. Most people know about Bernie Madoff and that huge case that was worked out of New York. We are a part of that, but we also see that across the country, including Oklahoma, sometimes at various levels. You have individuals that try to scam folks into all types of different investments. We had one recently that involved cryptocurrency. That's very popular right now. Everybody wants to make money and get rich quick off of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so we did have an investigation recently where it was completely fictitious investment in coin. How much money are we talking about? We're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. In money that's being stolen from taxpayers. U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, Clint Johnson, says the IRS helps his office put people away.
So IRS won't be handling the drug portion of a narcotics case, but you know what they can handle is the money laundering, the wire fraud, the bank fraud, and helping us trace those proceeds to maybe individuals in the organization that are the shot callers, people higher up in the organization. So it's a great investigative tool. Have there been cases that you guys have worked that you felt like the IRS helped you with those cases? No, most definitely. Some of the cases that you've covered as well. I mean, we had Operation Heavy Metal, which was a catalytic converter case the IRS worked on. Booster Busters, which are that huge retail theft. We have Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force narcotics cases that we've used the IRS, their abilities for financial crimes. It's just a force multiplier. For law enforcement, we want to have as many people in the game rowing in the same direction with different levels of expertise. It makes it more effective to fight crime, to do it together. Christopher says narcotics, human trafficking, and investment fraud are the 3 biggest crimes the IRS is trying to fight, besides the obvious that will always be #1 for them, tax crimes. It's always going to be tax. We are the only agency that has the authority to charge criminal tax violations. Covering news that matters, Jana Clark, Fox 23 News.
Speaking of tax crimes, just a couple of weeks ago, a former Claremore Company president was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison in order to pay more than $6.5 million in restitution. Philip Albert, you see here, was president of Pelco Structural LLC, a steel pole manufacturing company. After a 6-year investigation, the IRS found Albert told the payroll company to falsely categorize some of his income as reimbursements. The IRS said that allowed him to evade paying more than $1 million in federal income taxes.
Do you have a tip or issue that you think Jana Clark should investigate? Let us know. Email Fox23 Investigates at fox23.com or call 918-388-5354 or search Fox 23 Jana Clark on Facebook.